Hello, this is Patrick with Royas,
And I'm Tate.
and today we'll be talking about C# versus GDScript and which one you should use for your project. First off, though, I would like to get into a bit of a disclaimer, actually a couple disclaimers.
We're biased.
The first one, we are definitely very biased. We started as Unity developers, and then we've now switched into Godot, so we're much more familiar with C#. And yeah, we kind of prefer working in that way. That's how our brains work. And then the other one is, honestly, this isn't that important. Most of the time as an indie dev, you aren't going to be running into that many issues where it's like the language is going to hold you back that much. So yeah, honestly, just pick one, whichever one you're more comfortable with, and do it. Just make your game. Don't sit around trying to decide which one's the best language. Doing it's the most important
And don't let us tell you which is the best language for you.
Yeah.
Because we will talk about it. We will talk about which is our favorite, and it's like, again, this is C# bias. Just do whatever you need to in a language.
Yeah, this is just some information on the languages and how they work and what we personally like and dislike about them, and that might be interesting to you, hopefully. But honestly, if you've got a personal favorite language, stick with that and keep doing you.
Okay. Do we want to get on to my little presentation?
Yes, let's talk about some performance.
Woo! Performance!
The most fun thing in game development.
Okay, I have built an insertion sort thing. One in GDScript, one in C#. Both of these will run through 1,000 arrays, or an array of size of 1,000. So let's do GDScript. And if you don't know what insertion sort is, it's an algorithm that is exponential time. So like, it's not good on performance. I'm gonna say that right now. So
yeah.
For 1,000 things we have to sort, it took 228 milliseconds in GDScript. And for C#,
now let's see the C#.
it took 7 milliseconds.
So a pretty substantial performance difference.
That is
and
a huge substantial difference there.
Yeah, you're never going to be doing an insertion sort in game development. Insertion sort. I feel like I said that very weirdly. But you're never going to be doing that in game development, hopefully. But this is just a test of the different languages and how they handle it. And you've told me that you tried to make these as similar as you possibly could, right?
Yes, implementation is similar because things like while loops can have different implementations. So I used for loops for both. And I tried to keep the implementation as close as humanly possible.
Okay, yeah. That way you don't have any variance in like for loops versus while loops and stuff like that.
And again, like I didn't think while loops would be a huge difference, but like here's the part. I'm actually surprised by how much slower it is, and I'm not exactly sure as to why. So let's increase our array size to 10,000. And let's run it again. Let's do C#. 10,000 sorted in 427 milliseconds. And in GDScript.
And it just hangs up.
We'll let it go. This is not multi-threaded, so we're just gonna let it go for now. So
yeah, so neither of these are multi-threaded.
Yeah, neither of them are multi-threaded. All right.
So C# will, generally speaking, be the faster choice. There's also more levers that you have to pull in C# that you can kind of squeeze more performance out of your game if you have to. Like, GDScript kind of forces you down this path of using string names in a lot of things, which is actually like a really clever implementation. If like strings are very slow to do string comparison. It is disgusting how slow it is, and it's not something you would really ever want to do in game development. But Godot has this nice way around it called string names, where it's like when you type in a string into something, it converts it to a string name. And if two strings are identical, they're the same object, and then it just does object comparison. And so object comparison is ridiculously fast. It's great. So it really improves the performance that way for you.
But in C#, you're able to make a get component system like in Unity, which is also incredibly fast and incredibly efficient to use.
Yes, and then you don't ever have to worry about things like mistyping a string or whatever, because you're just grabbing objects directly based on their type. Super nice. I definitely prefer that in C#. I feel like you're gonna run into less bugs as your project grows and stuff, and you're not gonna have to worry about game designers renaming something and then, it doesn't work. Whereas, like, if you rename a script in C# or something, your code's gonna light up like a Christmas tree, and you're gonna know where all the issues are.
Yeah.
Whereas in a string, you don't quite have that benefit. Okay, now let's move on to the flexibility of these languages.
C# just kind of wins here by default.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Godot, you can go into the C++, you can expand the language. You cannot do that in C#. If we're talking about technical level of control, GDScript wins.
Well, the thing is you can actually kind of do that with C# because you can expand the Godot engine, and then you can just interface with the C++
exactly.
from.
Yeah, you
so
can do
it's
that
like,
with either.
Yeah, it's you get the benefits of both. Whereas C# you get things like NuGet packages, and just like the pre-built libraries that they have. Like, Tate and I have talked about this a few times at this point. We are not the biggest fan of the Godot JSON serializer. It's not my favorite thing in the world to work with. Whereas, like, in C#, you don't have to touch it. You can just go and use either the, like, .NET JSON serializer, or you can use the Newtonsoft JSON serializer, and life's good. It's great. But you can't really do that in GDScript. You're kind of stuck into, like, the Godot ecosystem, unless you want to touch the C++ and then add things or remove things to do things more your way. Yeah.
Again, things like my Arduino video, like, there is a Godot implementation. I haven't tested it yet, but, like, that is something that, as a dev, you might always have to be waiting for, is an implementation, or you're going to have to implement it yourself into GDScript. Whereas with NuGet packages, you're going to be able to do a lot more with the OS itself and with other tools, essentially.
Yeah, like, you can interface directly with the COM ports. You're not going to have to worry about that.
And, like, there was a game called Incompetech in Godot, which messed a lot with people's computer files and everything, and, like, did things like mute their computers, and it's like, that had to be a C# implementation, because, like, that wasn't going to work. That was outside of the realm of base GDScript.
Yeah, and so because they didn't want to work with C++ to modify the engine, they had to work specifically within C#. And that's kind of one of the benefits, I feel, of C# is you're less likely to have to modify the C++ if you're using C# versus GDScript. That being said, generally speaking, you're not going to want many of these options in your game. I think it's going to be relatively rare that you're going to come across something and be like, I need C# for this, or I have to modify the C++ for this. Most of the time, as an indie dev, GDScript's going to be just fine for what you need.
Like, 99.99% of the time, it's fine. And again, just use what you know. Use what you know.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't stress that enough.
Yeah, don't take our word. Just use what you know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you want to learn C# and you know GDScript, great. You'll be a better game dev for it. Or if you want to learn GDScript and you're a C# person, great. You will be a better dev for it. But, like, don't get too hung up on just trying to make this initial decision of which language to use. Just follow your gut. And honestly, if you are a new dev, just go GDScript. I think that's way better for new devs. You don't need that extra performance or flexibility when you're just learning how to program.
Or extra options.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you're starting out C# and you see someone do, like, a lambda expression, you're gonna be like, what did you just do there?
Yeah, like, why'd you do that?
Whereas like GDScript, I think is going to be a lot more uniform in how you code things.
Yeah, and so you're not going to have as many surprises when looking through other people's code. I assume there's probably Lambda expressions in GDScript, but like, again, it's going to just be a little more uniform in how people do things. C-Sharp's been around for a while now. It's got a lot of features.
C-Sharp's been around since like 02. So it's been around for a long... It's been around the block. There's a lot of things in it at this point.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's just gonna be those kinds of issues. Now we can actually talk about some of the issues we have with C#, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Let's... C# cons.
Yeah. Okay, the number one issue I personally have with C# is working with the Godot variant system. It can be a pain. Like, we've dealt with this a little bit with JSON serialization. Sometimes when you are serializing a Godot object into JSON, it's not serializable.
Yes,
with
so...
the like C# serialization library, JSON serialization library, or Newtonsoft.
Yeah, so like I was having an example of this earlier. So I recently did a menu to switch the input maps for your game, so users could change their controls. Input events were not serializable in that, and I really wanted to store the input events itself. And so like I had to do this kind of like weird dance of converting it into bytes and then converting it back into an input event to actually be able to change the controls and save it for the user. Whereas like in GDScript, that's going to be that was a much simpler process, because in GDScript input events were just easily serializable.
Yeah, exactly. And so it can be a bit of a hassle when trying to use some things that are built for C# and some things that are built for Godot together. The implementation isn't perfect of Godot stuff with C#. There can be a little bit of friction. Also, if you want to export something like an array to the Godot UI, you would have to export a Godot array. But then oftentimes you're not going to want to use a Godot array when you're working with that data in C# because it's actually kind of faster performance-wise to work with regular C# arrays and things like that. But so you're going to end up with some kind of data conversions. So you're going to like have your Godot array, then you're going to read it in to a C# array, and then you're going to be doing data manipulation. Or if you want to have a C# array and you want to send it to the Godot engine for some reason, you're going to have to convert it to a Godot array. It's a bit of a hassle, and kind of GDScript bypasses that altogether. You don't have to do it in C#, but it's like one of those things where if you even look at the tooltips they recommend, they're like, unless you're interfacing with the engine directly, don't use Godot collections.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Okay. C# cons. The documentation isn't half as good as the GDScript documentation. It's getting better, but let's be real.
Yeah,
like it is not as close to as good as the GDScript. You're gonna have a lot of code snippets which are only GDScript and not C#.
Yeah, and so you're gonna be benefiting from knowing both if you're going down the C# route, because it's like you're probably gonna have to convert from GDScript to C# at some point in time.
If you know GDScript, it's just gonna be able to parse into C#. If that's pretty much all there is to say.
Yeah.
All right. Any other C# cons?
I had one in my mind, but I forgot. We can come back to it later if I remember.
Okay. Do we want to move on to something like GDScript cons?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Okay. We already covered performance.
It's gonna be slower, generally speaking.
Yes.
Not as flexible. We've also talked about that. You're working with strings more in general.
Yeah, working.
Or
with
you're forced to use strings more.
Yeah.
Whereas C sharp, you can kind of just bypass the string system altogether if you know what you're doing. Whereas Godot, you're kind of forced to do things their way. I guess is probably the best way to do that. Forced to work in their way on things.
Oh, I feel so bad. Like, because we're gonna have more. I don't like the fact it's not strongly typed.
Yes. You can kind of fake it with compiler hints.
Yeah, you can fake it, but like,
it's a little bit of a hassle.
And maybe it's just because I'm so used to strongly typed, but like when I'm working in it, I constantly hit issues where I'm like, oh, it would be nice if I knew exactly what this was. Like,
yeah, which is why I use compiler hints for everything.
Yes, and I do
when I'm
too,
working...
but like when you're parsing data back from JSON,
oh yeah,
exactly. You don't get to have compiler hints there, and all of a sudden you're having to figure out what exactly this thing is.
Yeah, like what did I want this as? I don't remember.
I'll put that as a con. JSON serializer serializes everything into a string.
Yeah, damn near.
No, everything.
Doesn't it do primitives? I think it does primitives as their type.
Maybe it can do it primitives, but like
anything
it's
that's 90% of
it's
things.
a string. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Yeah, it likes its strings a lot. I feel.
You know what? Cons I'm gonna put like owned by Microsoft.
Yes, that's a major con.
There you go.
Screw you, Microsoft.
And extra software to run.
Oh yeah.
More
and compiling.
Yes,
also,
compiling. Compile times.
Compile times, and you have to compile to export variables to the UI.
Yes.
Those are annoying.
Yeah. There we go. We got some more C#.
Woohoo! We did it. Yeah. I think that pretty much covers the cons. And did we talk about the pros? No, we didn't. We can talk about the pros.
We kind of did on the like performance and flexibility, but we can talk about pros if we want.
Yeah, let's go drill into
let's start.
We talked about the pros of C#. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the GDScript.
GDScript pros. They deserve the pros because there's a lot of pros. The engine implementation's better.
Yeah, it just works with the engine a lot better. It's nice. You're gonna have to write less code with GDScript.
Less code? Yes, because in our implementation here of our insertion sorts, this one is 51 lines and this one is 39 lines. So
yeah,
it's just going to be less lines of code. I can see that being nice for some people. So
yeah, I notice when I'm doing my tutorials in both, usually my GDScript is a few less lines, so that honestly can be nice. It's easy on the eyes. GDScript is a very nice language to look at.
Built-in IDE.
Yes, that's a nice one.
Okay, genius move by the Godot devs. I'm gonna just say it, to put an IDE right in.
The less I love that with GDScript you can just download Godot and you don't need anything else, and you're just good to go. You can build your game. No other software needed.
Well, it's great for beginner because it's not like, oh, like I need to download .NET. It's like you downloaded .NET like 2 somehow.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, why doesn't it run anymore? It's giving me errors.
Well, now I need to get Visual Studio code.
Yeah, and then I need to actually get it running, and I need to understand. No, like the built-in IDE, the fact that it's like Godot comes in, you get Godot, and it's like, just build your game. Here's everything, you can build your game now. That is a great move on their part.
Like, that's one of my biggest issues with web development when I've worked as a web developer. It's like a day or two to set up your environment. It's like a process. which when you're learning, that's so daunting. You just kind of want to like get in and learn. You don't want to have to go through this whole thing of like, oh, I need to set everything up and it's going to take hours.
Oh, I hated setting up freaking Node.
Oh, it's horrible.
It was
I
a
remember
nightmare.
I remember we had a whole week of classes at my one company when we all started on how to set up our dev environments. It was so bad. But yeah, okay. I think that's all the pros I've got. Oh no, wait. You get to choose whether it's strongly or weakly typed.
Yeah.
There we go. Like you get to, like if you like strongly typed languages, GDScript can be strongly typed, and if you want it to be weakly typed, if that's what you enjoy, you can do that. You're not forced one way or another. Whereas C# very much kind of pushes you in the direction of strongly typed.
Okay. Just a disclaimer. Strongly typed literally means like you define what each variable is.
Mm-hmm.
So like in my C#, I'm defining this is a bool, this is a GDScript, I didn't need that. This is a label, this is an integer. Whereas in GDScript, you're not going to need that.
You just say var.
You just say var. But here, in these two, I did strongly type.
Yeah, he gave it the compiler hints to be like, this is what I want out of this.
Yeah, and so like that is a nice option. Like C# you can do that as well. So
yeah, I like that. GDScript works a lot better at weakly typed than C# does, because you can say var in C#, but like
I personally don't like to. The thing is, a lot of C# documentation does. So like I don't think it's that bad. It's just it's not my perfect preference.
Yeah, it's not mine either. I think that covers my GDScript pros. We can switch.
So too. We can
switch
to C#.
Yeah, let's switch to C# pros.
Better performance.
Yes, that's just immediately out the gate. You're gonna get better performance. Mm-hmm. And I guess as part of both of those, you get more levers to pull when you need more performance.
Levers for more performance.
Yeah, like there's
more
I think there's
optimization tools.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good way to put that. There's just so many different ways you can optimize your stuff in C# that I feel like you probably can't in GDScript, which is nice, but like it's also can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
More C# pros.
Like we already covered the NuGet package store. I'm just gonna do /NuGet.
Yeah, /NuGet is
truly strongly typed.
Yes, truly strongly typed. I guess there's also just more language total documentation. Like there's a lot of C# documentation out there comparatively to GDScript, but like for using C# with Godot specifically, there isn't as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, total language documentation, like you were able to find more tools or things on how to do insertion sorts in C#, I assume.
Well, I didn't even bother looking for GDScript.
Yeah, you just
I converted it from my C#. But yeah, I did kind of copy and optimize certain persistent insertion sort, and then I did the same for convert it into GDScript.
Yeah. And so there's going to be like nice things you can find online, like nice little mathematical blah blah blahs, whatever, just in C#.
You're going to find more like weird GitHub, like okay, for something like what was that one thing that we did GitHub dive for at work? It was like
Oh, we needed the double exponential smooth.
Yeah, double exponential smooth. You're probably not gonna find that in GDScript on GitHub somewhere. Like,
but yeah, we found like an algorithm on GitHub for the double exponential smooth that someone had implemented. And so it was like, oh, sweet, we can just take this code and we don't have to write it.
Obviously,
Which is
like, it's good to understand the code you write, but like sometimes that's all there is a GitHub doc. Like,
yeah, like that's all you get.
Sometimes that's all the movement you get once you get deep enough. So like, that's basically it. I don't really have more else to say. Do you?
No. Okay. Any final thoughts?
The winner of C# and GDScript is
The one you should use in every single game. For
every
the rest
single
of time.
project is the one you know.
Yeah.
Right.
The one you know, or the one you're comfortable or excited about learning. Like,
The
if
one
you were
you're
more
comfortable
excited,
with.
if you're more excited about learning one over the other, just go with that. Honestly, just follow your heart.
Don't let your pride get in the way. Don't be like, oh, C# is better on performance.
And
Like, I need
can't,
to use C#. Don't you dare let that get in the way.
I can't stress this enough. It is so rare to run into performance issues as an indie dev. I have worked for a VR studio where we worked on the Generation 2 Oculus Quest. We didn't run into too many performance issues. Our biggest issues we ran into were with file size and not with performance. Like, just honestly, the performance thing is overstated. And honestly, sometimes when you hit performance walls, that's when you learn the most as a game developer, is when you run into something and your code's running too slow and you have to go and figure out why. Honestly, that's just an amazing opportunity to learn how to optimize and learn how computers work. It's great.
Yeah.
And yes, like, just because C# gives you a little extra overhead before you hit that point where you may need it, doesn't really matter that much, honestly. I just said honestly like a billion times there.
Oh, honestly?
Honestly, yeah.
Honestly, are you sure?
Honestly, I think
You're not lying with me. Are you? That you're using the word honestly?
Yeah, but seriously, now that I've just replaced honestly.
Yeah.
Just go with whatever you want. Don't. It's the decision isn't that deep. If you are delaying starting your game because you've got to make the perfect decision, that's the wrong way to go about it. Once I read an article, I think, where they interviewed the developer of Hexa-V, and he said, I might be misattributing this, but he said, what's a game with bad code? And he said, shipped. Because every game that comes out is going to have some bad code. Honestly, just make your game. Don't worry too much about it. If there's a few things that could be optimized, but your game still runs, who cares? Nobody's really going to care at the end of the day. Your players aren't.
If the game's fun, the game's fun. The code is not going to change that.
Yeah, look at some of those Nintendo games. Man, they have some weird code.
Or one of my favorite things on YouTube is to look up like developer like script comments, and like they're all cursing and everything, and they're like, this shouldn't work, but it does. It's ugly. I hate it. It's not performant. Good to go.
And those are some of the best games ever that have come out. You know,
yeah, like that's like Half-Life 2. So like,
yeah, like don't worry too much about being perfect. Being perfect is perfection is the enemy of better or good enough. Like, just do it.
Okay, that's enough rambling.
Yes.
That's it. See you guys.
Yep. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. Bye.
Or just
and
give
leave
it
a
a
comment
like.
if you tell us what you liked about this. Tell us if you prefer GDScript to C#.
Or you don't have to do that.
You don't.
It's up to you.
Do it. All right. Bye.
See ya.